Hi everybody, welcome to the book club. This month we're reading Randi Zuckerberg's Pick 3. She is the Facebook guy's sister. She doesn't like to be referred to as by his sister, but she mentions it several times in the book that she is his sister, so I'm mentioning it that she's his sister. It's basically a very simple book. It's all about picking 3 areas of your life to work on every single day. I'm Chris Sgrott with Organizing Maniacs, and I own a professional organizing company in the DC metro area where we specialize in working with clients with brain-based challenges. So the majority of our clients have ADD, ADHD, OCD, and hoarding tendencies. And we help them through life transitions like downsizing, getting married, getting divorced, moving, and things like that. And every month I pick a book that I find interesting. Sometimes, no, I always find them interesting. And I kind of dissect it a little bit from an ADHD perspective. And then I try to give you some applicable tips that you can go and implement to the book, whether you want to read it or not. I try to give you some things to work with. A lot of the times these books have amazing stories. This particular book has a lot of really good examples, so I would highly recommend taking the time to read the book, even though you may get some stuff from what I'm going to talk about. So every month I do a book report, and there's a link for you to get it downloaded somewhere nearby. And I just kind of give you the overview of what's in the video, so it's just a fun way to hang on to it if you are one of those people that like checklists. So download that. You can find that on our website at organizingmaniacs.com, and you can just search under book clubs. So Randi in this book, she has some really cool concepts that I really thought were very interesting. She believes that we have become obsessed with living a balanced life, and I totally understand what she was saying, and that resonates with me really well because I feel like I'm a little bit of a workaholic, and living a balanced life has just been a really big challenge for me for a long time. And she just feels like we're totally obsessed with the idea of living a balanced life, and that is really not attainable. And I think the more I read about productivity over the last 3 years, the more I realize that balance is really overrated. So if you still believe in balance, good luck. She believes in living a well-lopsided life, which means that you can have some balance, but every day you're just going to be off-kilter. And in her book, she talks about having 5 major buckets in your life, right? We have work, we have sleep, we have family, we have fitness, and we have friends. And every day you should pick 3 of those things you're going to work on and just do them really well and focus on them really well. And she also has at the end of the book a combination of the 3 you can pick from. She has a combination of the 3 you can pick from with every combination there is ever possible for you to have. So if you're a person that likes for somebody to tell you today work on these 3 things, you can go to the book. I think there are 15 variations of how you can go about doing the you pick 3. She really speaks a lot about the gift of just giving your life just a very well lopsided, balance that works really well. As long as you're rotating and you're picking 3 of these every single day and you're working on them fairly hard at it, or just being pretty committed to it, she feels that at the end of the day, or at the end of life, you'll feel like you lived a really well-balanced life in a way that didn't feel balanced, right? I love Shonda Rhimes' book. I think it's called The Year of Yes. And in that book, she talks about how it doesn't matter how hard you try, you're always going to be failing at something. If you're being a good mom, you're being a good mom. If you're being a good entrepreneur, you're being a good entrepreneur, and you're failing at being a mom. If you're being a good friend, you're probably failing at being an entrepreneur and being a mom. So in life, whenever we're picking these things, there's always something we're feeling guilty about not working on. And because we're failing at that, we're feeling really bad, and therefore we're not enjoying any part of this, which, makes sense to me. I feel like that all the time. That really resonates with me. And this morning, I was having a conversation with my sister, Vanessa, who's also a maniac, and she was telling me that the bus didn't come on time, and she had to drop my niece off. And then she had an appointment that she didn't remember she had the appointment. So she wasn't able to have a conversation with my nephew in advance to the appointment. And how the whole logistics of her morning got thrown off for a loop because she was not necessarily paying full attention. And in that process, one can feel like a bad parent. And I think what we arrived at in that conversation is that good parenting is really about managing logistics really well, right? Which is what she said is good parenting sometimes is getting your kids safely from point A to point B, which is also a really big part of these buckets, right? Which she doesn't talk about, which is being a good parent has a lot of moving parts to it. And I was surprised that she didn't talk about parenting as being one of the buckets that you should include in your life. I don't have children, but I figured that is a huge part of life that you have to make time for, your kids. But anyway, she talks about just working at the 3 ruthlessly, which is a word that I like. Ruthless means being completely obnoxious and dedicated to it, where reckless means you're just randomly figuring out if it works or if it doesn't work. So be ruthless on the 3 that you pick, be deliberate to it, and be committed to it. She had some really good ground rules that I absolutely loved. It was you can only pick 3, right? If you try to squeeze another one, you're kind of diluting the system. You're multitasking in a way that may not be helpful. So remember, you're looking for quality, not quantity here. Just stick with 3. Have no fear. Tomorrow you can pick 3 different ones. So you're always rotating, right? So you don't have to worry about feeling guilty. Remind yourself that you cannot do everything. You can do everything, but not at the same time. So stick to the 3. Be great at what you're doing. So whatever it is the 3 that you're working on, if you're picking your work, sleep, or, your friends, just stick with those 3 things. Track your choices, right? She has a couple of different systems in the book that you can track and be accountable. She says pick a friend. Those are really usually helpful to help you go through this process. Nobody wants to do these things alone. Then she goes into this she has these cute little names and things that that your personalities that you can have for each one of those sections. I mean, this part gets a little confusing, so I'm not going to try to explain it too well for you, but for every section that you pick, you could also have a personality to go with it. So in the book, she picks work, and then from work you can be a passionista about work, or you can be an eliminator about work, or you can be a superhero about work, or a renovator, or a monetizer, or an expert. And then she picks family, and you can go about doing those those buckets in also 5 different ways. So there's a lot of different personalities that you can bring to every single one of your buckets, but in the essence of it is be who you are, pick the 3, be committed to it, and keep track of it. And then at the end, kind of evaluate, are your buckets lopsided? Is work consuming too much time every single day, and then you're not, then you're spending very little time in your fitness or with your family? Or or are your buckets being consumed every single day by the exact same ones, and you're don't have any time for your friends, which are really important? So the tracking was probably one of the most important part that I felt in this whole process, right? Which is picking the buckets and having awareness is really important. Being lopsided in a balanced way is important, but tracking how you're spending your 3 every single day just felt to me one of the most important things. And there are lots of different ways you can do this. She has some fancy spreadsheets in the book. I probably would just put some piece of paper on the wall by the front door and be okay, these are the 3 things I work on today, and then just kind of keep track on a monthly basis and figure out okay, I haven't seen my friends in like a month. I need to put that bucket back in. I think like some of the things that really stood out for me is like sleep. Like, sometimes I go in spurts, like sometimes I get really good amounts of sleep and sometimes I don't. I didn't feel like that was something that I could, like sometimes I feel like I don't have control over it, depending on how stressful my workload is. I may just not sleep, and I didn't really know how to make that like a priority. I could go to sleep early, but I still, if I wake up in the middle of the night, what to do with that? Sometimes I watch comedians on Netflix and they help me fall asleep. I have this one particular podcast that I listen to that is really, really boring, and I tend to always fall asleep on. And if you're interested in knowing what the podcast is, send me an email and I'll send you a message with that link. I just didn't want to give that person a shout out in the world just in case he ever stumbles upon this video. She talks about family, and family is like a touchy thing for some people. Like, I have a really big family and I get along with everybody in my family, but not everybody has that. In families, whoever we make our families to be. So your family bucket and your friends bucket may be the exact same. So how do you work that through is fine. Some of us have children. Some of them have like more children, less children. I guess now that I think of it, she did include children in this. It's in the family bucket. Sorry, my bad. So if you have 2 kids or if you have 5 kids, the amount of time you need for that bucket is clearly different. So how do you allocate for that? She talked about fitness. One thing that she talked about fitness that I thought was really fun, and another way to like combine some of your buckets, was pairing, right? If you feel like you don't get enough time with your friends, can you work out with your friends and then combine the 2 of them together, which I do quite a bit. I tend to go hiking with my friends or biking with my friends. That is a great way to see them and exercise at the same time. So, this book was really not very complicated, very simple. You have 5 buckets, pick from the 5, 3 every single day, work on them, think quality, not quantity, be diligent, be deliberate. And I think the one thought that kept coming back to me as I read the book is that I feel like we are what we focus in, right? And I feel like I am so much better at accomplishing anything whenever I think like, I want to grow my hair. Whenever I go get a cut, then I don't cut it as much and then it tends to grow, right? Or if I want to eat bananas every day, I just go to the store, I get extra bananas, then I come home, when I open the refrigerator, they tend to be there, I eat them, right? So I feel like when I have this awareness about this thing that I want to do, I tend to be much better about my goals. And the research shows that that is accurate. Whenever we want to accomplish something, 1, if we have awareness, 2, if we tell people, and 3, if we partner with others to get that goal accomplished, we are like 75% more likely to accomplish our goals than if we just think like, I want to eat more bananas, right? That doesn't work so well. So because we are what we focus on, and because that expands in itself, I would challenge you to try using her bucket system and see how that works for you. So the buckets again are work, sleep, family, fitness, and friends. Pick 3 every day, exercise them, find some sort of way to keep track of them, whether it's on your calendar, a piece of paper on the wall, or telling a friend. Go out there in the world, pick your 3, let me know how it's working for you, and see if you make any progress. I'm going to try this for myself and see how I do it. I do feel lately that I've been living a much better lopsided life. So I'm going to give it a try and see how it works. Anyway, I hope you learned something you didn't already know, and I will see you next month. Bye.